the house on Holloway Hill. On a torrentially rainy night, Lucas Whitmore drove along the narrow, fog-filled roads, heading toward his grandfather's old house in Holloway, a small village deep in the forest. The house had been abandoned for decades, but Lucas had just inherited it after his grandfather's death, and he decided to visit it once to take a look. The moment Lucas pushed open the creaking iron gate, a chilling sensation washed over him. The old house, with peeling paint and cracked windows, seemed to be watching him. He told himself, "It's just an old house, nothing to be afraid of." But as he stepped inside, Lucas felt the air thick and heavy, as if it were being compressed. The smell of mold and dust coated every corner, and the wind whistling through the cracks made his heart race. He turned on his flashlight and walked up the stairs. Each step creaked under his weight, making him jump repeatedly. Lucas entered his grandfather's room, where a few old belongings remained. A writing desk with yellowed papers, dried-up ink pens, and an old journal. He opened the journal and read the scrawled lines. "If this house starts whispering to you, don't try to listen. It knows everything. It consumes the souls of those who pass through." Lucas scoffed, thinking his grandfather had only tried to scare his grandson with ghost stories. But as he set the journal down, a sound echoed from the basement. Lucas startled. The sound was like footsteps, but not his own. He decided to go down to the basement, flashlight in hand. The basement door opened with a creak, and the mingled smell of dampness and clay made it hard to breathe. In the dim light, Lucas saw old objects, rotting wooden crates, and a strange statue, shaped like a person but distorted, its wide eyes staring at him. Suddenly, a heavy breathing sounded from behind. Lucas turned, but saw no one. The flashlight trembled as if an invisible hand had touched it. He felt a chill run down his spine. "Is someone there?" he shouted, his voice shaking. No reply came, only the sound of breathing and the rain pattering on the roof. Lucas looked back at the statue. When the flashlight illuminated it, he saw faint writing carved at its base. "Do not turn your back to the darkness." Lucas's heart pounded. He felt eyes watching him from every direction. Suddenly, the basement door slammed shut. Lucas spun around, pulling hard, but the door didn't budge. The footsteps grew closer, and in the darkness, a shadowy figure emerged. Lucas took a deep breath and realized it was the form of a man, gaunt, with deep black eyes and a face twisted as if torn apart. Who are you?" Lucas stammered. The figure didn't answer, only moved closer, its heavy breathing growing louder. Lucas stumbled back toward the statue, instinctively placing his hand on it. A surge of icy electricity ran through him, and he heard a familiar voice. His grandfather's voice. "Lucas, run. Don't let it take you." Terrified, Lucas pulled at the basement door. Finally, it burst open. He rushed up the stairs, ran out into the yard, the cold rain pelting his face, yet the darkness seemed to cling to him. For a moment, he looked back and saw the house come alive. The windows rattled, dark shadows darted across the rooms, then everything fell silent. Lucas never dared to return. He drove away from Holloway in the pouring rain, his heart still racing. But from that day on, whenever it rained, he heard whispers in the wind, his name called out, and the darkness from Holloway seemed to follow him. No one knew what secrets that house truly held, but Lucas understood one thing. There are places where, once you enter, your soul will never be entirely free. And Holloway was one of them. The last guest of Ravenshade Inn. The night sky was torn open by streaks of icy lightning, illuminating the winding mountain road that led to a place long forgotten, Ravenshade Inn. An old inn standing alone among the black pines, where the locals often said it watches you more than you watch it. Ethan Marlowe, a researcher of ancient culture, was driving through a brutal snowstorm. He never intended to stop here, but the GPS told him it would take hours to escape the mountain range. And Ravenshade Inn, though decaying, was the only shelter for miles. When he stopped the car, the wind howled like thousands of screaming voices. The withered pines bent and scraped against each other, sounding like bones grinding. The inn loomed in front of him, gray roof tiles, cracked windows, and a faint yellow light flickering inside like the breath of someone close to death. Ethan shivered, but he stepped inside anyway. The wooden door opened with a long, aching creak. Inside, the inn was so dim that even its single lamp seemed swallowed by the shadows. Behind the reception desk stood a tall, skinny man with wrinkled skin like old parchment and eyes unnaturally wide. "Welcome to Ravenshade Inn," the man said in a stretched, lifeless tone. "You need a room, don't you?" Ethan nodded. "Good. We rarely have guests." His smile looked carved onto his face, but the most unsettling part was, he never blinked. "Are you the owner?" Ethan asked. "I am, the caretaker," the man replied. "You may call me Mr. Halden." He handed Ethan a rusted key marked 7, the number barely visible. "Your room is on the second floor, but..." Halden tilted his head slightly, the smile fading. "Do not open any door if the inside is completely dark." Ethan froze. "Why?" "Because in Ravenshade," Halden whispered, "the darkness is not always empty." Ethan climbed the stairs. The wooden boards groaned under his feet like they were protesting each step. The second floor was longer and darker than he remembered from the lobby. A faint yellow light stretched the hallway into something almost endless. When he passed room 4, he stopped. The door was slightly ajar. Inside was a pool of pitch-black darkness. So dark it looked like a hole in reality. Halden's warning echoed in his mind. Ethan stepped back, pulse racing. He didn't open the door, but as he turned away, a whisper drifted out. "Don't leave me." The voice came from the darkness itself. Terrified, Ethan hurried toward room 7. Room 7 was small but surprisingly clean. However, one thing disturbed him immediately. A large portrait hung directly opposite the bed. It depicted a woman with long black hair and sorrowful eyes that seemed to look straight into whoever stood before them. Ethan tried to ignore it. He took a hot shower, warmed himself, and wrote down a few notes. But every time he looked up, the eyes seemed to follow him. "It's just my nerves," he muttered. At 1:26 a.m., when he was about to fall asleep, a woman's voice whispered right beside his ear. "You shouldn't have come here." Ethan jolted upright. The room was empty. But the portrait, the woman was smiling. Unable to sleep, Ethan stepped into the hallway. But the hallway was different. It was longer, darker, and so cold that his breath turned white in the air. Far down the corridor stood a figure with its back to him. "Mr. Halden," Ethan called. No response. As Ethan stepped closer, the figure suddenly slid sideways as if yanked by something unseen and vanished into the darkness. Where it had stood was a door. The plaque read, "Room 0. A chill rippled through Ethan. No hotel had a room 0. A soft sound came from behind the door. Crying, quiet, stifled, like a woman in pain. "Hello?" Ethan whispered. No answer. Then the crying shifted into a whisper. "Help me, please." Ethan reached for the handle. Halden's warning screamed in his head. His heartbeat pounded. He opened the door just a crack. Inside, absolute darkness. He was about to close it when he saw his shadow on the floor, but it didn't move with him. Ethan stepped back. The shadow stayed still. Then a long, black, distorted hand crawled from the darkness, reaching for his leg. Ethan slammed the door shut and sprinted back to room 7. He shut the door, breath shaking. Grabbing his phone, no signal. When he turned around, the portrait had changed. The woman no longer stood in the forest as before. She was now standing in a dark hallway, the very hallway of the second floor, and behind her was a tall, gaunt shadow with hollow, empty eyes. Fear crawled through Ethan's body. A knock echoed. "Ethan," Halden's voice, "we need to talk." Ethan opened the door. Halden's face was grave. "You opened room 0, didn't you?" "Just a little. You let it see you." "What? The entity inside room 0, Halden said. "It used to be a person, a guest, like you. But the darkness in Ravenshade drains souls. Now all that remains is a shadow that wants to pull others in." Ethan's voice trembled. "How do I get out?" "You must leave before sunrise," Halden said. "When daylight comes, this inn changes, and what dwells here won't let you go." Ethan packed immediately, but as he stepped into the hallway, every light went out. Total blackness swallowed everything. Footsteps echoed, dragging, heavy. "Ethan," the woman's voice whispered from everywhere and nowhere. He turned on his flashlight. A towering, twisted shadow stood at the end of the hall, its hollow eyes fixed on him, its mouth stretched unnaturally wide. It lunged. Ethan bolted down the hall, heart pounding. The hallway stretched endlessly. The staircase vanished. Ravenshade Inn was shifting. The shadow was almost on him. He tripped. The flashlight rolled away. A gentle hand touched his shoulder. Ethan froze. He turned back. A woman stood behind him. The woman from the portrait. She was beautiful in a haunting way, dark eyes full of sadness. "You must leave," she whispered. "The darkness wants you, but I don't want another soul trapped here." "Who are you?" "I was once a guest, like you. Ravenshade keeps us inside its walls, in the paintings, in the shadows, anywhere the light can't reach. Can you help me? I can show you the way out, but you must run and never look back." She led Ethan down the corridor. A single door glowed faintly. "Room 7. Go," she whispered. "I cannot follow. I belong to this place." The shadow charged. Ethan pushed the door open and threw himself inside. But room 7 was no longer a bedroom. It was a black, spiraling staircase descending deep into the earth. A scream echoed above. The shadow was coming. Ethan ran. Cold wind blew upward, carrying cries, laughter, whispers. "Stay with us. Stay forever." He ran until his legs almost failed. Light finally appeared. Ethan sprinted. He tumbled onto the frozen ground outside the inn. Dawn was rising, the first rays touching his face. Ravenshade Inn stood silent now. No shadows, no screams, no whispers. Ethan looked back. Sunlight struck the inn's old wall. Painted on it, the woman's portrait. She smiled softly. In her eyes, freedom. Ethan walked away and never returned. 3 years later, at an art exhibition in Vienna, Ethan froze at a painting in the corner. It was her, the woman from Ravenshade Inn. But now she stood in a forest, free, no shadow behind her. The artist's card read, L. Halden, last work before his disappearance. Ethan stared in shock. Halden, the innkeeper? He looked into the woman's eyes. She said nothing, but Ethan knew one truth. Ravenshade Inn still stands, and it is still waiting for a new guest.